This right next to me is the Nissan X-TRAIL e-Force e-Power, and it is a hybrid version of Nissan's medium-sized SUV. And in this full detailed review, I'm going to uncover everything you need to know. And before we start, please like this video, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review. But for now, let's get straight into the video. Let's start off with a brief overview. Specifically for the hybrid versions, these are priced from $50,000 and climbing up past $58,000 before on-road costs for this top spec TIL model. And in regards to optional extras, there are 12 external colours to pick from, including some premium paint options and some two-tone colour combinations. And for the cabin, black is a no-cost option, or you can equip this with a beige leather interior. But it is worth mentioning that the hybrid versions only come in 5 seats only, where if you do need 7 seats, why not check out the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, or if you are sold on just a normal hybrid, this competes with the Toyota Rav4 hybrid, and as well as the Honda CR-V PHEV. Let's now move on to the design. So the colour of this example is finished off in Scarlet Ember, and in regards to some of the design features, on the lower section are your full automatic LED headlights, and on the top section, LED DRLs, and looking down below, LED fog lights, integrated into the black plastic trim, and also complemented with a bit of chrome, and finally, looking towards the centre, black gloss trim across the grille. And now moving towards the side view of the X-TRAIL. So this being the top specification, this sits on 19-inch alloy wheels that are finished off in gloss black and complemented by this silver finish. And you can also upgrade the size to 20 inches. And in addition to other key features, we've got black plastic cladding across the wheel arches and on the lower section. And to signify that this is the hybrid version, you have an e-Power badge. We've got roof rails on the top section, and of course privacy glass across the third quarter. And now moving towards the rear design of the X-TRAIL. So from the back, we've got partial LED lighting, which means there are incandescent globes for the indicators and reversing lights. And looking towards the lower section, black plastic cladding, and as well as some chrome down below. And on the tailgate, e-Force badge, along with an e-Power badge to signify that this is the hybrid version. And finally, what do you guys think of the design in comparison to the Mitsubishi Outlander, on which the X-TRAIL is based on? Let me know your feedback in the comment section down below. But for now, I'm going to move on to the interior. Okay, moving on to the cabin. So before you climb inside, this features a remote key, keyless entry, and push power start. Let's start off with the presentation. So this being the top spec TIL, you get quilted accented leather seats, you get a panoramic glass sunroof above me, ambient lighting, and of course a two-tone interior. So brown on top of the dash and across the top sections here, and black on the lower sections. And it also feels a lot better in comparison to the Mitsubishi Outlander, which shares the same platform as this. And on the top sections, that is soft and squidgy, even across the dashboard. And in regards to build quality, the door slam feels very solid. And I like that door handle opening as well. And on the top, that is also soft to the touch as well. And it is also soft and squidgy where you rest your elbow. And across the dashboard, over here, you've got some soft padding, fake wood trim along here. And it's also soft and squidgy across the center and even towards the center console. And the steering wheel is also finished off in leather. But of course, like all cars, it does start to get a bit durable on the lower sections. And moving on to comfort features, both the front row seats offer electric adjustment, lumbar support, and seat memory function. And by pressing these two buttons here, they can also be heated. There is also tri-zone climate control with physical dials and buttons. And you also get a heated steering wheel that feels very nice to grip onto. And finally, the steering offers both tilt and reach adjustment. Now, moving on to infotainment, it all runs off this 12.3-inch touchscreen display, and by pushing on these icons on the right hand side, these are what your menus look like. And you've also got buttons on the steering wheel and physical buttons and a dial here for the radio. And in regards to key features, you have AM, FM, DAB radio, and this being the top grade model, a 10-speaker Bose branded sound system, and as well as voice control and inbuilt satellite navigation with 3D mapping. And in regards to smartphone mirroring, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wireless, and that is what that looks like on the screen. And if we now move on to safety, if I just flick it into reverse, you have a surround view camera with multi-angle views, and as well as front and rear parking sensors and a rear cross traffic alert. And there is also an auto dimming revision mirror, and if I flick this tab here, there is also an integrated digital rear view mirror. And over on the wing mirrors, blind spot monitoring, and as well as a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant. So that means this car has the ability to steer itself within its lane, and as well as adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between your vehicle and the vehicle in front. And finally, over in the center, speed sign recognition. And if we now move on to this 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, the layout itself isn't configurable, but you can cycle through different menus looking at fuel consumption, media functions, navigation, and other key data. But it is a little bit different on this EV version. And on top of the windscreen is a heads-up display that integrates your digital speed sign recognition, and navigation directions. And if we now move on to the driving modes, you've got 5 to choose from between off-road, snow, and for on-road driving, auto, eco, and sport. And in addition to that, there is also hill descent control, and this being the hybrid version, 2 dedicated buttons for EV driving, and e-pedal mode, which allows you to accelerate and decelerate without touching the brakes. And finally, storage. So on the doors, decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. There is also a sunglasses holder up the top here, and looking over here, a decent sized glove box. And in addition to that, there is also a wireless phone charging pad off to the center, and as well as a 12-volt socket, USB-A and a USB-C port, 2 small cup holders in the center, and on this lower section, additional storage. And finally, if I open this up, decent center storage, and also a spot there for a mobile phone. So overall, pretty practical. Okay, moving on to the second row. So as you can see, this front row seat is set in my driving position, and I've got plenty of toe room, knee room, and headroom. And you can also recline the seats backwards and forwards, and also move them forwards and backwards. And in addition to other key features, we've got directional air vents and tri-zone climate control, and there is also a USB-A and a USB-C port. And it's also worth noting that the 2 outboard seats can be heated. And looking behind the front row seats, map pockets, and on the doors, decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. And as you can see, integrated roller blinds with a light up the top here. And looking towards the center, fold down armrests with 2 small cup holders and a device holder. And finally, for child seats, the 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me there are 3 top tether points. Okay, moving on to the boot space. So if I open this up, as we can see, there is a power operated tailgate, and once that is open, it reveals 475 litres of boot capacity, which is 10 litres less in comparison to the non-hybrid 5-seater version. And it's also worth noting that the 7-seater non-hybrid version has 465 litres behind the third row seats. But if we just focus on this hybrid version, it is a little bit bigger in comparison to the Rav4. And moving on to other key features, off to the side, a 12-volt socket, and you can also open up the bottom sections, revealing additional storage. There are also tie-down hooks, along with 2 cutaway sections on each side. And if you of course need to expand that capacity, you can quite easily drop down the second row, and they do fold into a 40-20-40 split. And it's also worth noting that you can move the second row forwards and backwards to increase boot capacity. But in comparison to the standard non-hybrid version, you don't get a space saver spare wheel, so instead a tyre repair kit, which means this version of the X-TRAIL sits on run flat tyres, like many of its other hybrid competitors. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So under the bonnet features a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine that produces 105 kilowatts and 250 newton meters of torque, and paired with a single-speed automatic transmission. And in terms of how this powertrain works, the engine acts as a generator, which means there is no link to the axle. So instead, the internal combustion sends all the power to a 1.8 kilowatt lithium-ion battery pack that then sends power to the 2 electric motors, so a 150 kilowatt motor at the front and a 100 kilowatt at the rear, so pretty much sending power to all 4 wheels, which makes this an all-wheel drive. And in regards to ownership, Nissan offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and as well as 5 years of roadside assistance. There are also cap price servicing plans, and each service is every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, and per visit will set you back $355 each. Okay, moving on to the driving impression. So at the front, there is great visibility. The wing mirrors are also pretty big. There is also good side vision, and finally at the back, great visibility as well. So what is this like to drive around town? Well, you have an 11-metre turning circle which is pretty good. So that means this car is easy to maneuver, it's easy to park, and driving around in full EV mode, you can barely hear anything. It's very quiet, and it's almost like driving a full electric car. But in comparison with the standard non-hybrid version, you do get a bit more power, and the single speed transmission is a lot more smoother in comparison to the CVT, and it's not as noisy. And it's also worth noting there's e-pedal, so as you can see it brakes for you, but it doesn't come to a complete stop. But it works fine enough for this application. And if we now move on to ride comfort, as you can probably already notice, the ride is unsettling, and you can definitely feel every bump on the road. And overall, in terms of refinement, the ride itself is unsettling, and even the whole experience. So the steering is very twitchy, so one movement with the wheel, you're pretty much changing direction very quickly. And whilst that is great for a sports car, I don't think it really works for a medium-sized SUV. And that is also the same with the accelerator pedal. So one touch of the accelerator pedal, as you can see, it's very lurchy, and even the brake pedal feel. And if we now move on to fuel consumption, Nissan claims that this hybrid version should be able to achieve 6.1 litres per 100, and you've got a 55 litre fuel tank. Whereas over a combined cycle of city and freeway driving, right now it's averaging 8.8 litres per 100. Now for a non-hybrid medium SUV, that figure is pretty good. And I did see some other reviews where that figure did drop down to just under 7 litres, but considering the Honda CR-V and the Toyota Rav4 hybrid should be able to achieve between 4 and 5 litres per 100, why would you step up to the hybrid and pay that extra premium if you're not going to get good fuel consumption? So there are a lot of great attributes with the X-TRAIL, and it does some things better than other manufacturers, but it's certainly not the best to drive in comparison to other medium-sized SUVs. But if I was in the market for an X-TRAIL, I would definitely just go for the non-hybrid versions, save my money, and you've also got that option between 5 and 7 seats, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and a choice of other model trim lines. So what is my final verdict on the Nissan X-TRAIL e-Power? Well, in comparison to other medium SUVs with hybrid powertrains, I still think the Toyota Rav4 is amongst one of the best options that you can pick from. But if I was in the market for an X-TRAIL, I think the standard non-hybrid versions that come equipped in either 5 or 7 seats offer really good value, but I would definitely just shortlist the hybrid. But of course, tell me what you think of my verdict down in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.